Hi, welcome to this video about improving the supply chain visibility to minimize supply chain risk during production ramp-up at ASML. My name is Ernst Boiten and this research is conducted to write my master thesis for the Master Supply Chain Management at Tilburg University. The goal of this project is to give insights in what limits the supply chain visibility of ASML and suppliers and give recommendations to improve the supply chain visibility. The visibility in the supply chain is needed in order to better assess suppliers on their scalability. Let's start with the why. ASML is growing super fast and will keep growing since ASML's revenue is expected to double in the coming 2 to 4 years. ASML is assembling the well-known lithography machines. So for increasing the number of machines produced each year, it's not only its own capacity that is limiting, but also the capacity of the entire supply chain, especially in an assembly supply chain. ASML assesses their suppliers on whether these suppliers are capable of growing at the speed that ASML wants to grow. Assessing these suppliers is done with the 4M analysis, which focuses on 4 general areas: machine, manpower, material, and methods. Most of the suppliers are sharing information regarding machine capacity and manpower capacity, but assessing methods is more challenging since more advanced internal process information of the supplier is requested by ASML. So methods is about assessing whether the supplier is in control of their processes, with more focus on efficiency and not only capacity of the machines. Information sharing between manufacturers and suppliers can be called supply chain visibility. As a result of this need to assess suppliers on methods, the research objective was to analyze why the supply chain visibility was limited and how it can be increased. Therefore, the following research question was created. How can ASML improve the supply chain visibility to assess the scalability of suppliers to minimize the supply risk during a production ramp-up? I started this research with a literature review where relevant articles were studied to learn more about supply chain visibility, information sharing, and information asymmetry. Also, I studied how information sharing can be achieved, for example with RAI contracts and incentives. The literature was used to create interview questions. The data used for the interview was only qualitative data and was collected in 10 interviews of 30 to 45 minutes each. I interviewed 5 employees of ASML that are responsible for managing. The approach of this research was to do a literature review first and then collect qualitative data in interviews. I conducted 10 interviews of 30 to 45 minutes each, 5 internal interviews and 5 external interviews with suppliers. We discussed 6 different suppliers of different product categories, and we didn't discuss the optics and MLP, but that has certain reasons. The interviews resulted in findings and recommendations. The first finding was there was a lack of coordination. The formulation of requested data was unclear. There was a high level of detail requested, therefore it got a low priority. And lastly, there were unclear consequences of when is evidence sufficient and when is it insufficient. Lack of goodwill trust. The suppliers were protecting their cost price and profit margin by not sharing all the information that they have, and feared that the information would be used and leaked to competitors of the supplier. There was a lack of return for the supplier. They put a lot of effort in it, but they did get little usefulness of feedback for the supplier. So the suppliers want return for their effort. And I created some recommendations for each of these findings. First, you can make a template with a precise formulation, expectations and consequences. And if you make the whole supplier accounting responsible for the 4M analysis, it will definitely give more focus on the processes as well. And then you can make fixed price agreements for a certain amount of time so that the suppliers are more willing to share the information. Another recommendation related to lack of goodwill trust is that you can make fixed price agreements for a certain amount of time so that the supplier is more willing to share the information. And you can also return more value to the supplier's effort, for example by supporting the supplier with shared improvement projects or R&D resources. And you can also reward excellent suppliers with longer contracts or lower prices. Thank you for watching this video, and thank you to ASML and LCB for the support provided during this research. If you're interested, please contact the LCB.